Hello, everybody. I am Threevil Shadow. I am new to Warframe, new-ish. I've been playing for 3 months, about, and I thought that it might be a good idea to make some guides for new players getting into it or update veterans on how things work now. The game, from what I can tell, has evolved, grown, changed quite a bit over the years. Some of the guides might be out of date, so I want a fresh look on how things are currently for everybody. Um, this is the first video in a series of how I'm building weapons, what they're good for, what they're not good at, and I would like to continue doing this for all the weapons, all the frames, all the companions to show what they're good for, what they're mediocre at, and what you should avoid, which missions you should avoid taking these things to go and do. That being said, any weapon, from what I can tell, can be used on any mission, just period. Any frame can be used on any mission. It's your preference. This is not telling you how to play the game. This is my take on the game. This is how I play. If you don't agree with how I play, you're entitled to your opinions. These are my opinions. Um, Feel free to let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would do different. I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to discussions. This is very limited because of my limited playtime, my limited access to mods and gameplay. So please feel free to educate me in the comments. Let other new players know what's going on. With that, let's get into it. This video is on the Acceltra and the Acceltra Prime. We're going to compare the stat. The Acceltra has a higher fire rate than the Prime version, and that's just about the only thing that it excels at in comparison to the Prime version. The Prime has a quicker reload speed. It has higher crit chance, not very much higher, but higher. Better critical multiplier, and a much better chance to apply status effects than the base version. Those are that's what I'm going to be playing on in this video is a little bit the crit chance and a lot of bit status chance. Because this weapon is actually a status monstrosity in disguise. When you look at the mod setup, when you know how the mechanics of this game works, this weapon will generate too many status effects. My favorite pro for this gun is that it explodes. Like, it takes away the need to be accurate. So, any new player that isn't too familiar with any sort of first person shooter, anybody that doesn't have that quick ability to get headshots with like hand cannons, pistols, um, aiming down sights for your submachine guns, sniper rifles, anybody that likes shotguns because you just have to kind of point in the general direction of enemies and pull the trigger. This gun has higher range, but still that point and shoot shotgun kind of feel to it. And I like range. I don't like being up close and personal with enemies. It increases your chances that you're going to die. So, being able to kill things from a range for me is preferred. And the fact that you don't have to get headshots with this to maximize your damage is what I'm playing into with this build. One of the things that I struggled with when I first got this weapon was the master rank wall that it's behind. I got very lucky very early on to get the Acceltra base form, but I was master rank 6 when I picked it up, so I had to use some other weapons in order to use it, and then I didn't have the Acceltra Prime completed. I think I was missing the stock by the time I hit Master Rank 14, but then I just sat in void missions until I grabbed that, built myself the Prime version, and that it was an upgrade. It definitely 100% believe that everybody should be using the Prime Acceltra over the base Acceltra if at all possible. One of the things that it doesn't tell you in the game itself about the Acceltra is that it does give a guaranteed status effect. When your mini rocket directly impacts an enemy, it applies the impact status effect. If they are a weaker or unoverguarded enemy, they will be staggered. So as long as you're shooting that single enemy, they should not be able to shoot you back. Stacking up the impact status will help with some of our mods that I'll show you in a little bit. But having that guaranteed status proc helps this build that I have actually a lot. Um, so I'll show you that in a little bit, but just know that if you're doing direct hits to enemies, you do apply an impact status regardless on everything else you have going on with your weapon. Because of the lack of ammo resources, however you choose to solve that issue, this weapon is not good for extended boss fights. It is not good for Eidolon hunting. Do not try to use it against those unless you have a team that's going to carry you, or you can help out in other ways than just DPSing the boss. This weapon is not good for extended one-on-one fights where you don't have extra enemies to kill to help replenish your ammo. One fun fact about explosions is they will pass through walls. It is part of the code. It doesn't need to go around a corner. It's damage from point of impact through any sort of barriers. So I start off with Firestorm to improve my blast radius from 5 meters to 6.4 meters to help aid in just being able to shoot through obstacles. If I'm on a multi-level mission and I'm on the bottom level, I can just start shooting the floor if I look at my mini map to see where enemies are and kill enemies through the floor. If I see enemies are coming through a vent on Pluto, then I can like shoot into the vent and kill everything before they can even see me to shoot back. It'll even, because of the blast radius, it'll even hit enemies around the corner in that little vent. The next mod I've got on my list is basic. We're being a basic person here. Extra 165% damage because why not? Yeah, point strike, just increase my crit chance. I want it up there. This makes my crit chance 85%. We're just shy of that guaranteed crit per shot, but we're okay with that. So this one is going to give us a ton more ammo in reserves. It doesn't affect your clip size, it just gives you more reserve ammo. With this, it puts me up to, I believe, 187 in the reserve. My magazine capacity went from a 48 to a 67 with this. I like the magnetic damage. A lot of people will tell me that I'm I might be being silly for wanting magnetic damage, but it does give you a damage bonus when you're fighting enemies with shields or overguard. So as you get into the higher and higher levels where all of the enemies have overguard, magnetic isn't going to be a bad thing. You're going to do increased damage to enemies that have any sort of shield. So magnetic makes this weapon good against Corpus. Having 67 bullets in my clip means that I can fire the gun for almost 7 seconds straight without needing to reload. Sure, everybody knows what a 60/60 mod is. For the new people, this is a 60/60 mod. They do a status and they give 60% status chance. Galvanized chamber is going to give us multi-shot. Oh my god, I love multi-shot so much. Every bullet that leaves the chamber of the Acceltra has an 80% chance of actually being 2 bullets. 4 and 5 of our shots are going to turn into 2 bullets. 1 second, firing 10 bullets, 8 of them should double. Should hypothetically double. So every second now, instead of firing 10 bullets, we are firing 18 bullets. Every time you get a kill, you're going to increase your multi-shot by 30% up to 5 times. That's going to be an additional 150% multi-shot chance. Added in with the 80 brings you up to, after you kill 5 things, 230% multi-shot chance. Every 10 bullets we fire, we're actually firing 33 bullets. Plus 80% status chance, period. That's what brought me up to 40 some odd percent status chance, was this one, combined with the 60/60 mods. 80% chance, like a little less than half of our shots are applying statuses. Mathematically, if half of your shots are applying statuses, and with the multi-shot you're shooting 2-3 times the amount of bullets, basically every bullet that leaves your chamber is going to apply a status effect, whether it be shadow bullet number 1, shadow bullet number 2, potential shadow bullet number 3. One of those is going to apply a status effect. The statistical chances of none of them applying a status effect are small-ish. It could happen, but basically we're flipping a coin 3 times, and if all of them come up tails, then we don't apply a status effect. What is that? 1 in 8? A 1 in 8 chance, with the potential of a 1 in 16 chance when on that off chance we get a 4th bullet coming out per bullet. It's pretty good odds, in my opinion. And then the on kill, when we kill stuff, which we're gonna kill stuff. This gun is made to kill lots of things. We're getting 40% extra direct damage per status type affecting the target. Stacks twice. So 80% extra damage only on the impact. So not the explosion. But we know that we are applying an impact status when we do direct hit. So guaranteed every bullet is getting that 40% direct damage because of that guaranteed impact. So we're doing 40% extra damage. The magnetize that I've got is a different status type, and the cold and toxin fuse to make viral. So we've got 3 different status types that we are potentially applying to all of the targets in an explosion. But we're doing extra damage to whatever our bullets are directly hitting. This mod is decent. It could be replaced. You might be able to find something slightly better, but when you're sweeping waves and waves of enemies, and an Eximus pops up, being able to just mow down the Eximus and watching all of the weaker enemies around it fall is satisfying, in my opinion. I like I like that I can focus fire down one enemy, one decently sized health-wise enemy, and still be able to kill other things in the process. So it's useful. It helps. It helps in the endless missions. The wiki should be every person's best friend. It has all of this information for all of these things on it. Specifically, what I'm showing you here is where to get the blueprint for the Acceltra base. So you could either kill enemies on or you can do some mission types and potentially get it as a reward. Personally, try to find yourself a friend that's has extra loot or a loot booster or something, and go into and just kill things. Expected to get it in 80 kills, nearly guaranteed to get it in 600 to 700 kills. Going in with a 4-man group, you should be able to get the Acceltra base in 2 to 3 runs rotation C. Two or three rotation C runs. Primary Merciless is an arcane that plays into buffing on kill that we've been putting on this weapon. With a 4-second cooldown, it doesn't look very appealing, but that 4-second is not all 12 stacks that this arcane will apply. That 4 seconds is for 1 stack. When you get it up to 12 stacks, after 4 seconds, it will drop down to 11 stacks. That is a lot more appealing to me. Knowing that little mechanic means that for 48 seconds, we should have at least a small amount of a damage buff. Arcane Rise is an arcane that has a chance on reload to increase our damage output. With the rate of fire magazine size of the way that the Acceltra has been built in this video, we should be reloading every 8 to 9 seconds. The buff lasts for 24 seconds. We should theoretically be able to get 3 reloads in before the buff can expire. At a 60% chance, the likelihood of not refreshing the buff in those 3 reloads is slim to none-ish. And then you can always force extra reloads throughout that to make sure you're guaranteeing the buff stays active. Archon shards are something that I've just started to get into. I got my 3rd one earlier this week, so I have one of each color from the weekly missions. I'm trying to get my rank up with Bird 3, and I looked on the wiki, found out that the 1999 calendar has rewards for some of the secondary color shards. With what I have access to, I noticed that this red shard will give a plus 25% primary status chance. That buffed my status chance up from just below 50% to just above 50%. It might not sound like it does that much, but making it so that every other shot definitely applies a status effect as to every once in a while that every other shot won't. Apply a status effect. It's helped. This little 25% chance does help. You may have more shards than I have access to. You may want to build the Acceltra differently than I have been building it. It does look like a crit machine. You might want to stack tons of crit and ignore that status chance that it has. If that's what you want to do, show me how that works. Tell me how that works. But the way that I'm seeing it, I think the status effect chance at 50% combined with the rest of everything and how it's working, the explosion, multi-shot, I feel like having a 50% status chance is pretty